What did your husband do that made you restrict his access to the child? I never thought my marriage would come to this point. When I first met Alex, he was charming, funny in a subtle way, and had this steady confidence that made me feel safe. At 22, being married with a 6-month-old baby already feels like a lifetime has happened. But when I look back on how it started, I can still see how easily I convinced myself things would always be good. Alex had always been social. He liked going out with friends, and in the early days of our relationship, I didn't see it as a problem. A beer after work, a few shots at a party, nothing out of the ordinary for someone in his 20s. He hid the darker side well. Before we got married, we didn't live together, so what I saw was the version of him he wanted me to see. The reliable guy who brought me flowers, who talked about building a future, who laughed at my clumsy cooking attempts. It wasn't until later that I realized how carefully he had tucked away the parts of himself that could wreck everything. The truth about his drinking started leaking out during our first year of marriage. He would come home late and I'd smell it on him. Sharp, sour, unmistakable. He wasn't violent, not in the sense of hitting or throwing things, but his personality shifted. The kind, funny man became loud, dismissive, and sometimes mean. I remember the first real fight about it. I was terrified, not because he hurt me physically, but because his words cut in a way I didn't expect. He mocked me for being too sensitive, and that night I sat awake in bed, wondering if I'd made a mistake tying myself to him so quickly. But then came the apologies, the promises, the sudden change. For nearly a year, he pulled back. He stopped coming home drunk, stopped embarrassing me in front of friends, stopped making me feel like I had to tiptoe around him. That was when we decided to start a family. I told myself that rough patch had been just that until a phase, something we'd moved past. When I got pregnant, he seemed genuinely excited. He painted the nursery, bought baby books, kissed my stomach every night. I wanted to believe the version of him who was going to be a good father. Our daughter was born, and with her came sleepless nights, endless feedings, the complete reshaping of my world. I was in love with her in a way I didn't know was possible, but I was also exhausted in every cell of my body. Being a full-time student and taking care of her almost entirely on my own stretched me thin, but I held on because she needed me. Alex helped here and there, but he worked odd hours, and most nights it was just me, alone in the dark, bouncing her in my arms until she calmed. At first, I thought he understood how fragile I felt, but slowly, little signs returned. A beer here, a whiskey there. I told myself it was fine, that he wasn't slipping back, that this was just stress, until the night of his birthday. Yesterday we celebrated as a family. Nothing wild, just cake, laughter, and pictures of him holding the baby with his parents smiling around us. I thought maybe this was the start of him truly stepping into the role of a husband and father. But today was different. Today was for his friends. I packed the diaper bag, thinking we'd all be going out together, only to have him change the plan last minute. He decided we were going to a bar. Our baby, of course, wasn't allowed in, so it was suddenly on me to take her home while he stayed behind. The sting of that decision cut deep. It wasn't just that I was missing out on a night we had planned together. It was the fact that once again I was pushed aside. The baby and I sent home like an afterthought, while he got to slip into his old habits of drinking and forgetting the life waiting for him at home. I drove back with her in the car seat, trying to swallow down the resentment building in my chest. I told myself he'd just have a few drinks and come home soon, that I'd put her to bed, clean up, maybe